I wonder if you can complete this sentence. There's a lady who's sure all that glitters is gold, and the answer, of course, is and she's buying a Stairway to Heaven. And these are the opening lines of Stairway to Heaven, which was released by Led Zeppelin in 1971, so almost 50 years ago, just to make you feel old, and is generally considered to be one of the greatest rock songs of all time. I, of course, am far too young to remember it coming out, but I do remember that when I was at university, some boys would try and impress girls by playing those famous opening bars on the guitar, and I won't ask you if you did. The meaning of the song's lyrics has been interpreted in different ways, and at one stage there were some bizarre theories about there being dark, hidden messages contained in it. But essentially, it's a story of a woman who believes that fulfillment is to be found by accumulating material things, that she can buy a stairway to heaven. It's a brilliant song, but the image of a stairway to heaven actually comes from the Bible. And though it may not first be obvious, it appears in this morning's reading from the end of the first chapter of John's Gospel. However, the image originates in the book of Genesis. In Genesis chapter 28, we read about Jacob, who had a dream in which he saw a ladder or a stairway reaching up from earth to heaven. He saw angels going up and down the stairway, and at the top he saw the Lord. And despite the fact that Jacob was a deceitful and quite unpleasant character, God promised to be with him and to make his descendants into a great nation. When Jacob woke up, he realized that he had encountered God, and he recognized the place, which he called Bethel, as special. He called it the house of God and the gateway to heaven. And he set up a memorial stone so that others could worship and encounter God there. You may not know the story, but it would certainly have been familiar to Jesus' first followers, and our reading from John's Gospel suggests that it was clearly in Jesus' mind when he met Nathanael. So let's have a closer look. John tells us that Jesus was in his home region of Galilee and invited Philip to follow him. Philip then found Nathanael and excitedly shared the news that Jesus of Nazareth, the son of a local carpenter, was the one who had been promised by Moses and the prophets. At first, Nathanael is unimpressed. He was from the neighbouring village of Cana, which must have seen itself as a cut above Nazareth. And so he asks rather scornfully, "Nazareth, can anything good come from there?" Philip simply invites him to come and see. If Jesus heard Nathanael deriding his home village, it certainly didn't faze him. As he approaches, he commends him for his honesty. Here is a true Israelite in whom there is no deceit. This attracts Nathanael's interest, and he asks Jesus how he knows him. Jesus tells him that he had seen him under the fig tree even before Philip had called him. Now Nathanael is persuaded, and he proclaims Jesus to be Israel's long-awaited king. Jesus tells him that he will see far greater things than this. And here is where the story of Jacob fits in, because Jesus then promises that his followers will see heaven open and the angels of God going up and down upon the Son of Man, who, as the New Living Translation helpfully explains, is the stairway between heaven and earth. Over the centuries of Israel's history, the concept of heaven and earth meeting in a particular place had evolved from that first stone placed by Jacob to the Jerusalem temple in all its splendour. By using the image of the stairway for himself, Jesus is claiming that God is not to be encountered in a building like the temple, but astonishingly in him. He is the one who brings together heaven and earth. He is the one in whom God's divinity and our humanity meet. He is, as it says right at the beginning of this long first chapter of John's Gospel, the Word who became flesh, in whom we see the glory of God. Once again, along with most churches, All Hallows has decided to suspend public worship in our building. For many, there is a real sense of loss. And among other things, we may miss the beauty, the peace, and the familiarity of the building. But that does not mean that we can't encounter God. Because we encounter God in the person of Jesus, through his life, his death, and his resurrection. The building, beautiful as it is simply a place to be together. If you were to continue to read John's Gospel, which would be a really good idea, you will discover that time and again John shows us that in Jesus we see God. And just as Philip invited Nathanael, we too are invited to come and see. Whether we are a person of integrity like Nathanael, or rather more dubious like Jacob, whether we live in a nice village or somewhere a bit more dodgy like Nazareth, whether we have gone to church all our lives or never darkened the door, Jesus already knows what we are like, and he welcomes all to encounter God through him. And then he charges us to offer the invitation to come and see to others. We hear quite a lot about the R rate at the moment, and it's quite complicated, but from what I've read, with an R rate of 1, within 2 months, coronavirus infection rates increase from 1,000 to over 12,000. If we were each to invite one person to come and see, I wonder what that would look like. What would the reproduction rate be? Of course, it's much harder to issue invitations at the moment, though we can always share a link to a Zoom service. But being unable to invite people to come to church doesn't mean that we can't show them Jesus, because through his Spirit, Jesus is alive in his people. And our job is to go and to let others see him through our lives, to be that point of connection between heaven and earth, that stairway to heaven, or at least to be the first step. But we can only do that if we first encounter him ourselves. So in these lockdown days, when many of our usual distractions are unavailable to us, let's take time to be still and recognize that in the presence of Jesus, we are in the place where heaven and earth meet. And may it make us wonder. And then may it inspire us to go and to let others see. Amen.